Доброе утро.
Dobre utro. Gott morgen. Guten Tag. Buenos dias. Bonjour. O genki desu ka? Ni hao ma. Namaste. Namaskaram. Good morning. Today, we're going to continue to examine the nature of our jailers. That's right, the people who have kept us in this digital matrix, this electronic frequency fence prison. And I'm going to create my own frequency here real quick. Okay, I'm still learning that. That's technology I'm still trying to master. Now, folks, did I say dobre utro? That's Russian for good morning, as it is fitting here. Let me say it one more time.
Доброе утро.
There you go. All right, so as I am broadcasting from an undisclosed location deep within the borders of Russia, and I want you to know that evil people always support each other. That is their chief strength. And that was said by a Russian named Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn. Now, the Illuminati control the inhabitants of the earth from 3 regions in the world, each area operating independently of the country, bearing its footprint, to which it pays no taxes nor adheres to its laws. They are the territory of Vatican City State and the private corporations of the City of London and of Washington, D.C. D.C., or District of Columbia, was privatized in 1871. Columbia being the name of a mythological goddess who is also known by the names Ishtar, Semiramis, and Cybele, all of which are aliases of Jupiter. Given that its residents live in a region that is not a part of the USA, they were unable to vote in the country's general elections until 1961, when a special amendment made to the US Constitution allowed them to do so. Vatican City State, informally called Vatican City, became a sovereign territory in 1929. Sited within the city of Rome, it is the capital of the Catholic Church, the smallest country in the world, and the only one existing to administer a religion. The Pope, as both the head of the Catholic Church and the king of Vatican City State, holds full legislative, executive, and judicial powers for the country. Popes have authority over every person on earth, and the Church claims that they are infallible. That is, they are incapable of making a mistake. Nonetheless, to circumvent due process, George W. Bush, the US president from 2001 to 2009, in case anybody here has forgotten, granted the papacy diplomatic immunity in March of 2007. The Holy See is the Vatican, and its headquarters are in Vatican City. It is a separate entity from Vatican City State, being a non-territorial institution and the oldest institution in the Western world, existing continuously since the time of Imperial Rome. However, its special legal standing gives it the status of a state, enabling it to administer Vatican City's government, act for it in international affairs, and enter into agreements on its behalf. Thus, representatives of the world's countries and of organizations such as the United Nations do not liaise with officers of Vatican City State, which has no foreign service of its own. but with the institution of the Holy See. The latter maintains diplomatic relations with more than 180 countries, 89 of which have embassies in Rome specifically for that purpose, and it also has an embassy in Washington, D.C. Pepin the Short, who reigned from 751 to 768 CE, was the king of the Franks, who ruled the region that is now present-day northern France, Belgium, and western Germany. In 754 CE, he gained control of northern Italy as well, enabling him to confer upon Pope Stephen II dominion over 20 Italian cities, creating the Papal States and making the Pope for the first time a temporal ruler on earth. 2 years previously, Pepin's army had begun the protection of the Roman Church after a deed appeared, the donation of Constantine, which stated the Pope was greater than the Roman emperor. Evidently, Pope Stephen II claimed the deed dated 315 CE had been gifted by the emperor Constantine to Pope Sylvester, in thanks for the latter curing him of leprosy and baptizing him in the Catholic faith. However, Constantine was not baptized until he was on his deathbed in 337 CE, and not as a Christian, but as an Arian, spelled A-R-I-A-N, the disciples of which believed Jesus Christ was a mortal creature. The church used the deed for the next 700 years to support its political authority until a Catholic priest, Lorenzo Valla, proved it a forgery in 1440 and determined it were written in the same century in which Pepin and the Catholic Church began to use it. In 1870, the Italian army marched into Rome and seized power, abolishing the Papal States by joining Rome and its regions with the Kingdom of Italy. The Catholic Church rejected the Roman annexation for many years, despite an electoral vote by the local citizens supporting the status quo. It was not until 1929, whilst Italy was under the dictatorship of Benito Mussolini, that the Lateran Pact between the Kingdom of Italy and Holy See established Vatican City as an independent sovereign state within Italy. In return, and for monetary compensation, the Roman Church magnanimously renounced its claims over the remainder of Rome and its region, and the Pope agreed to remain neutral in politics and in war. The third private enclave is the City of London Corporation, otherwise known as the Square Mile, situated in the heart of London, which has its own constitution, flag, and police force, and it elects its own mayor. Repeated attempts by the British people to have the city incorporated into the borough of Greater London have failed. The city was officially founded in 1191 and given the right to self-govern in 1199 by King John Plantagenet. However, its inhabitants had enjoyed rights and privileges denied to the rest of the country since 43 CE, when the Romans first governed that region. In 1067, William the Conqueror, on becoming England's first Norman king, made those rights official. When William assumed the throne of England, he also introduced the feudal system to Britain, whereby the British sovereign took ownership of all the country's land, and in 1213 that ownership transferred to the Pope with the signing of the Treaty of Verona. In turn, in 1302, under the reign of Pope Boniface VIII, the Catholic Church seized ownership of the entire world and its inhabitants. Boniface had issued a papal bull to make the seizure legal, which stated, in essence, that since Jesus Christ owned all of the world's possessions and souls, but could not be its administrator, the Pope, as the self-proclaimed vicar of Christ, and all subsequent popes thereafter would act as his proxies on earth. Boniface enjoyed a menage a trois with a married woman and her daughter, and was widely known as a shameless pedophile. Spirit said that one magazine first published in the 1970s for emancipated women makes no money, inferring its only purpose is to coach the morality of its subscribers. All right, intermission time, ladies and gentlemen. Refreshments are out by the refreshment stand. Namaste, namaskaram.